hey, Dima.
Hello.
How are you doing today? You were looking away. What's going on?
I was going to check if the sunset is gone, and it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's a different view. We were talking about this backstage. You look great. Did you do something with your hair?
I colored my hair. Yeah, I had multiple experiments that went failing badly. It's okay.
Experiments, huh? You weren't doing some of those experiments like at the beginning of COVID with people in their hair and their bangs, huh?
Yeah. So, how are you?
Look, I'm good. Things are great. Happy to be, safe and healthy. How about you?
Good. Keeping my eyes on the election results and have been so excited about today's show with our wonderful guest that I can't wait for us to start talking to him.
No doubt. We have someone special. I think a lot of people should know this person, right?
I think so. I don't think you need to say his last name. Just the first name is enough. It's like Oprah, Ralph.
I like it. Well, look, let's get him on. I got a few things to change up here, and we're going to get this going. Let's bring on Rolf here. Rolf, how are you doing?
Great. Glad to join you tonight.
Great to see you. Look, this is a special one. Dima, we've talked about maybe getting Rolf on for a while, huh?
Yeah.
This is special.
I'm so glad when I reached out to him last week, he said that he was available, which is wonderful, especially the day after the elections. Like, there's no better guest than Rolf to get.
It's hard to tell Dima no. You know that, Rob.
Oh, trust me. Anything she wants, I get it.
Oh, thank you. So, Rolf, how are you doing?
Well, I'm a little tired. Stayed up way late last time after midnight trying to see if there was going to be some conclusion. But at some point I realized this is going to go on for a day or days and, who knows how long with potential recounts or court battles. And so I think people are tired and hoping that there would be some kind of conclusion, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to see how this play out. This hasn't gone down like other elections as far as I've seen. So it's kind of interesting though. I'm like earlier, you can sue for that.
Yeah.
Really? And then this is kind of neat how this process is sort of playing out in front of us.
One interesting aspect I was watching was an interview of the pollsters, some of the national pollsters that have been around for years. And, they missed it 4 years ago and predicted one way and it went the opposite. People were kind of shocked. So you figured, okay, well, they figured out how to poll America now, but, they were still shocked. I mean, down in Florida, particularly in Miami-Dade, and just missed the mark again. And so it's really interesting to whether or not it's the methods they're using and people aren't able to reach people, with phones, or people aren't sharing their honest opinions, or, I don't know. They said they have to go back and study it because once again, they were just off in a lot of places. They were really way off. And, I don't know about you. If when I see the caller ID, I just don't answer the phone. So.
I love that new feature on my iPhone, Dima. I don't know if you have it, but where if the contact is not in, if you don't have the contact saved, then it just immediately goes to voicemail. It's been heavenly.
Oh, that's so great. I get
when I went to get my appliances repaired today and the guy was from out of town and couldn't get in touch with me.
The problem is it fills my voicemail. So quick, seeing my voicemail.
You're popular.
Yeah, what can I say? So the one who's more popular than me, Ralph, everybody in town, we all know you, and we come to the business report events and all kinds of wonderful events that your team plan. But I don't think we know really your story. So tell us tell us more about you. What is your story? What is your background?
Well, I'm born and raised here in Baton Rouge, and born and raised. I grew up out in Broadmoor, and then I moved to South Downs area and went to University High, and then across the street and went to LSU. So, Tiger. When I went to LSU, my dad was a lawyer. Now, way back, he went to Astruma, and when he graduated at 19, he became a publisher. He was the youngest publisher in America. Had a weekly newspaper. It actually became a 6-day daily in North Baton Rouge, and the Advocate was in South Baton Rouge. But anyway, he sold that, went to law school, and a couple stints in the Army, and but anyway, so I was going to be a lawyer, but I took some law courses and really hated it. Started working at a newspaper and with John McGinnis, and anyway, really liked it. It was always exciting and new, and so I said, I really like this. So when I graduated, I stayed in that and decided to opt out of law school. My younger brother, ended up becoming a lawyer. So my dad was a publisher and a lawyer, and he got a publisher and a lawyer. Our parents definitely have an impact on us, and But anyway, so I started working with that paper, and then later, when I was 26, I started the Business Report, and it seemed a trend. Watching other things around the country. Seeing other. Here was something happening somewhere else. There were about 15 in the country. And we decided to roll the dice on that. And boom, I saw the difference of having a niche publication targeted to business, whereas the daily paper at that time would put business on page D5, behind the grocery ads, because, small percentage of the audience of the daily reads, with their business execs. And so I, in fact, would go around to some people and said, what do you think of the idea? And as you've heard with many entrepreneurs, and do it. I even went to the head of the chamber that time, and I said, what do you think? He goes, well, what will you write about in 3 months? I go, what? This is not encouraging, Wow. My dad and a guy named Chuck McCoy, who was a banker here with L&B Premier and very innovative, the McCoy family, which had Bank One, later became, was bought out, and JP by Chase. But anyway, we decided to roll the dice. We did it. And, that was almost 39 years ago. So anyway, I encourage all entrepreneurs, like I said, you got to follow your dream. If you're going to break the mold, it's not going to be like everything else. If you're going to find the blue ocean, it's not going to be like everybody else. And that's what, unfortunately, sometimes in Baton Rouge and Louisiana, we find a status quo, which is an enemy of innovation and an enemy of change. Louisiana, I learned years ago, 80% of the residents are native, which is the highest in the nation, which means they were born and raised here. And so when you bring a new idea, you're facing 8 out of 10 people who've always done it the way they've always done it before. And so that's a real resistance. So just like when we brought an idea, when Todd Graves brought an idea, it's like, don't do that. That'll never work. And so anyway, it's been great. We've the Business Report has been great, for me, a blessing to me. Obviously, I joined my partner, Julio Malera, joined me 23 years ago. My wife, Tita, has been my partner since day one. My dad was my business partner as well. And so I've had a lot of help along the way with any executive entrepreneur. You stand on a lot of people's shoulders. And then we started adding, Business Report, as you've seen, today we came out, 40 under 40. It's, again, targeted to business. We also, have a publication called Industry, 1012 Industry. Again, a very, niche publication. We bought the Enregister about 12 years ago, and it's now, over 30 years old since it began. And then we have, we're celebrating this month, we started 225, which is celebrating 15 years. And funny story there, is like Murphy's Law. We hired our staff at the beginning of August 2005, and we said, let's roll. November, we're going to publish. And at the end of that month, Katrina hit. And oh my goodness, and people just moved in by the droves into Baton Rouge to have it. We said, what are we going to do? Do we still publish? Can we get it together? And we decided, you know what? Stay the course, push push forward. We did. We came out with a publication with all the new people in town. It just got scooped up, and the rest is history. But I mean, it was one of those things. I didn't have this in the business plan, the three, and everything else was going on. You got to expect the unexpected, but we got a lot of talented people, and it's always been about teamwork. And I've been really fortunate to work with some very creative and very committed, and that's probably been the best part of having a business for 30 years, the people you get to work with, and the impact you get to have on the community, because, we're all about giving back. Baton Rouge has been good to us, and so we just try to do our part.
So when you are not working on all of this and not doing all your work, volunteering on boards and helping business owners locally and doing all the family stuff, what do you do? What are fun things that you usually do, or even if you have time for that?
Yeah, well, it is, and that's one thing as you get older, you start realizing there's always work. And starting out, I was one of those 7 days a week, at the office, but I've been fortunate with Tita, and I've had two beautiful girls, John and Elizabeth. They're married to Ryan and Kyle. My oldest, I have 3 grandchildren now, which is the joy, and it's getting kind of relive your youth over again. My youngest daughter, the great news, the good news for 2020 for me is she told me I'm going to be a grandfather again. So,
awesome.
So come next May, that's going to happen. And so I do a lot with family, like I said, getting out in the community, being involved in the community is something I've always enjoyed doing. And I've been on 25 boards, over the years. And you meet a lot of great people, and you get to help improve the community. But that's sort of, like I said, God's been good to me. My family and my faith are a real big part of why I do what I do, and so that gives you a purpose. And you never get tired of fulfilling your purpose.
Rolf, you kind of born and bred Baton Rouge here, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, how? I got to rephrase that. What is your favorite part or your favorite impact that you feel you and your team have made? I mean, you've got, the 225, you've got all the publications, you got Business Report and Registered, 1012. I mean, there's so much that you do. What is your favorite impact that you feel you've made in the community?
One of the things, we've got a card that we put together, our staff, called Our Way, and our vision is a company of excellence, innovation, and impact every day. And, we try to, like I said, to continue to be relevant. But, we were talking earlier before the show started. One of the things that I enjoy most is recognizing others and encouraging others and motivating others. And we do a lot of things. We started the Business Awards almost 37 years for businesses. And then we created the Influential Women in Business. Dima is one of our influential women in business. We created the 40 Under 40. Rob is one of our 40 Under 40 alumni, So getting to recognize people and what they're doing and not giving them their flowers at their funeral, you know what I mean? Lets you encourage people away, because there's great success at certain stages in the journey. And, so these young people like yourself that are making an impact and doing some great things, they deserve the recognition, and they deserve to be held up as examples to others. And I've had a lot of people say, Rolf, one of these days I'm going to be, that. And so it's like, look, I hope it inspires you. I hope it motivates you to go out there and to make a difference and to make an impact. And so to see that happen and flourish and the community change is really rewarding. The stories we write about entrepreneurs are the people we feature. Women with a Cause in the Register are the best of 225, recognize and let the community recognize the best. There's so much, we know negative news out there, and the media gets beat up all the time, but there's a lot of great things happening in our community. And, it's great to be able to showcase and put the spotlight on those people and those things that are make Baton Rouge unique and great.
I got to jump in there because one of those people making it unique and great is someone I get to call a friend here. He's commented a few times already on the show. Ben Marcel. Oh, I don't know, just one of 2020's class of 40 under 40.
That's right.
Hey, Ben.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, we're going to be doing that a little different. Y'all have seen the other one. We usually have 700 folks, but with all the changes, we're going to have a hybrid live event for the honorees with their guest or spouse. And we'll be streaming the show just like you guys are streaming on all the platforms. So everybody in the community and the alums can all tune in. We used to be limited to the size of the room. Now anybody can watch, and we can present the awards, and we're going to, so it's going to be, we're going to still celebrate. We're not going to stop celebrating the talent.
Well, and you got some practice earlier, right, with the influential women in business. Dima, you got a chance to speak, right? You were on like a panel or something?
Yes, that's something Rob and I, we've been planning for years, talking about doing something together for the influential women in business, and it happened to be this year during a pandemic. But at least we got it done, Rob. That's okay.
Got a lot of great comments. I mean, again, we learned so much from each other, and I know, Dima's been a great example of that, of bringing people together and letting them share. Because, look, I'm 65 this year. I hadn't subscribed to AARP, and I haven't filed for Medicare or anything. But look, man, I can tell you right now, I never stop learning. There's so many new things that I've had to learn in the digital age. It's just, hey, I usually learn it from somebody else, obviously.
Yeah. And one of the things we were talking about the other day is how much we need to adapt. So you're talking about learning, but in addition to learning, it's adapting. So you mentioned about the events and how the events are changing right now, where you're making it live, but also virtual. So what are you and your team doing to continue to adapt beyond 2020?
Well, that's where we're looking at, how people, content is still key. You still have to put together the news, the stories and everything. It's just now a question of how you deliver it. And so that's really the thing that we've had to, because, traditionally we produced it, put it on paper, printed it, mailed it, delivered it and so forth. And now people are saying, well, no, send it to me on my phone or send it to me on a desktop or I want to do a live event or I want to do a virtual webcast. And so we've just had to, try to learn it all and have many platforms and, the panelists, how can we share information? And that's really what we've learned a lot, and the innovation is great. I mean, just like we're doing this tonight, who could have done this a few years ago? You know what I'm saying? I certainly didn't know, how to do it. I kept, a few months ago, I'd have said, are we going to Skype? And of course, now it's Zoom, GoToMeeting, On24. I mean, there's so many platforms out there, but this is what's, it's scary and it's challenging, but it's also exciting because it just opens up all the possibilities. People that never had a platform suddenly have one. You can blog, you can post. With Daily Report, we started Daily Report 23 years ago. We're coming up on a quarter century of putting out a daily email.
Wow.
When they came to me and said, hey, we started this fax daily, a few weeks, and someone said, well, look, there's this thing, email. Do you want to put it on email to us? I said, what the hell is email? I don't have an email. What is that? And so anyway, but I said, you know what? Hey, all right, if it's new and it's cool, let's do it. So we started email and had 2 people getting it by email. And then we had 10 people getting it by email. And then 100 people by email. Wow. And we just grew it. And then we got rid of the fax. And my kids don't even know, grandkids don't even know what a fax is, right? But that was one of those things. And so now when you think about daily emails, you get them all the time. But 23 years ago, that was one of those things. We were first to the market. We were the first business journal in the country that delivered by email. And look, man, it was all sorts of technical problems, man. We had all sorts. We changed vendor, and then we changed vendor again, and we changed vendor again. But these are the kind of things you can laugh about now, in business. But it's like, man, they didn't tell me this was going to happen. They didn't tell me it was going to be this hard. But that's why it's fun to and then share back with people and say, look, I made it, you can make it. You know what I mean? If I can do it, certainly you can do it.
Yeah. Wow.
How long has it been since you started doing the AM and PM?
Yeah, that's there was an example at the time. We had done business report monthly, and then we went to bi-weekly, and then we were doing the daily report. And so we did a survey, and people said, yeah, we want to see it twice as often, and so we rolled it out bi-weekly. Well, then we started doing daily report, and it got really popular, and we were selling out all the advertising. And we said, man, what are we going to do? There's only so much space, right? And I said, well, look, we started doing alerts, and we had more news, and so we would do an alert. Well, we said, well, now we're doing a daily, and then we're doing an alert, and then doing a daily and another alert. And I go, wait a second, we don't have to keep doing alerts. Why don't we just do like we did bi-weekly, do the same thing, and boom, do twice a day, and there's enough news in the morning and the afternoon, and so now we do those AM, PM, and alerts when necessary. And it's just amazing because that technology, we could never compete against the daily, because the daily had the presses that could print 100,000 copies overnight and had all the delivery people that could deliver it every morning. And back then that was fast, and it was like nobody can touch that. But then when we got a chance to say, we got a scoop and we got the story, and they don't, but how do I get it out, post it, and I can send it out worldwide in 15 minutes. And they're going like, wait, you just leveled the playing field. I don't need a press. I don't need delivery people. And our whole idea behind the email was to push you that news instead of waiting for you to come to the website and read it. And that's why the daily report is that when it dings, you're like, it's 10:30 and I heard a ding. I think my daily report has arrived. And, I had somebody today, a bank president, said, man, I just wait for that 10:30 email, and so forth. And that's exciting because, people is like, they're hooked. And, we have over 100 members of the media who are subscribed to Daily Report, because a lot of them get the story, then rush out to the news or radio or tomorrow's Advocate or whatever. So it's like, hey, now we're just contributing to the community.
Wow. Well, mine doesn't ding, but I try my best.
Ralph. Mine dings. You got me.
Does your email ding?
Better than a dong. Better than a ding. I'd rather a ding than a dong there. And look, they're notifying me multiple times a day. It just, they're also just completely taking over my news feed on social media. I love getting all the I'm an insider too, so I'm not just getting the information, I'm getting the in-depth look. I get more content, even more content. So it's I love that y'all are pushing out this information, because you're right. Without that, I'd have to go, be proactive on my own rights and go search for this information or go to the website. But being that it's just so easily handed to me as a business owner, as someone, who's a professional, I think I first started getting this. I think I first started getting the emails when I became, a professional after college. That's when this type of content started making sense to me. Like, if I'm going to be working in the community or working as a professional, I need to know what's going on around me. And so thank you for doing that for so long, because otherwise I'd probably be less informed. It would rely on my own discipline to get this information, which I can be lazy to do that. And look, the content in the package is great. You're giving it to us in multiple slices, multiple times a day, and I can heat it up and warm it up and eat it again for leftovers later.
One of the things I was talking about niches, if you notice on Corporate Boulevard here, we have Fleming's, we have PF Chang's, we have Bonefish Grill, and we have Carrabba's. And they're all right there in a row there. And if you've ever been to some other centers, like down in Destin, you'll see Bonefish Grill, PF Chang's, and Fleming's right there together as well. Well, that was a restaurant group started by Paul Fleming, PF. He's from Opelousas, and he used to have the rights to all the Ruth Chris's west of the Mississippi. And he developed that and then sold it and made a fortune and then started his own restaurant concept. And PF Chains is, you know, Chinese. And then he had Fleming's Steakhouse and then Bonefish. And the idea was they were all his, but they were all different. And you could eat one of his restaurants 4 nights in a row and never eat the same food. And he would all go in there, obviously negotiate a deal with the shopping center for a nice 4-pad space and be able to have those economies of scale, have a restaurant group manager over him and so forth. And he's now broke up, sold off, and I think he just owns a couple of them now. But again, a Louisiana guy that did that. But ours is, like I said, with the B2B, the business, the entertainment, you know, the City Mag, the Lifestyle magazine, the industrial, every one of them is different for a different audience, different type of advertisers. And, you know, we love covering the business. When I started out, I said, we put business on the front page. Because again, I told you the Advocate was B4. You know, we said we're business cover to cover. If you want to read business, that's us. Much like a tennis magazine, a golf magazine, you know, Sports Illustrated. They're all niches. And if that's your thing, then, you know, we want to be your magazine. And so it's not a mass number. It's not a mass media. It's more of a class media. It's we say we're not counting heads. We're counting customers. So who's your customer? And so that's where, and then what we started doing is in addition to the print publication, we rolled out events. And then we rolled out a website. And then we rolled out a newsletter. And so these were all part of building the franchise for each one and using that same concept, you know, magazine by magazine.
Wow.
Do you find pieces of this, Dima, where you can apply this to your own business or like you know, as an entrepreneur or as a leader? I'm seeing so much here that I could take away from this.
Absolutely. I call it diversifying your business. So you're not dependent on one specific customer. So in your situation, Ralph, I think like business report, business people, and register more for individuals that are so creative and want to know the stories behind the community. When I think of 2 to 5, I think of the younger generation. They want to have fun. They want to see what's hot out there that they want to explore. So I love it. And I see it in my business. If my business was not diverse, I don't think I would have survived this year. So when I think about my keynote speeches, they were very much impacted with the pandemic. It was pretty horrible initially, but because I have the coaching, the consulting, the book, it all balanced out. And that's an advice I give to every entrepreneur. Make sure you're not dependent, your stream of income on one area. Make sure you have multiple streams of income. And I know it's easy to say that, and it does take time to build. So when I look at Ralph, everything you've built, you and your team, that took multiple, like many years, but it is important. So was that the intent from the beginning, or it just happened to be this way for you?
Well, like I said, initially when we started the business report, we just thought a monthly business publication. And then what I did, as I mentioned to you, we studied other markets. You know, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. And I went to conventions and I picked the brain of people from LA to New York. And I said, what do you guys do? And they said, well, we do events. I said, hey, tell me about that. They said, oh, we do a book of lists. I said, oh, tell me about that.
That's awesome.
We do an awards thing called 40 Under 40. I said, tell me about that. And so, man, I came back with ideas. And hey, they weren't new ideas, but they were new in Baton Rouge. And so it's like, you know what? We're gonna do that, and we want Baton Rouge to have that kind of resource. We want Baton Rouge to have that kind of awards recognition. We want Baton Rouge to have that kind of event. You know, when we started getting to the website, and then, like I said, we started a fax daily like another market, but then we created the email, and so then others started copying our email because we were doing it by email and they weren't. So we kind of, did our own spin on that. But you're right that one of the good things about the diversification is, B2B's hot or B2C's hot, and, or industry or whatever, you're riding that, all your eggs aren't in one basket, but we do have the economies of scale. See, I have one production department with some very talented people that produce all my books. I got one business department. I got one audience development department. Now I have separate editorial sales teams, But on the other part, I do have some economies of scale, and Julio and I provide the management for all. But that's where, again, if you had to be a publication standalone and had to have your own production, own business, own office, I don't know if you'd make any money on a standalone for one. But when you can, obviously when people scale their locations and Todd Graves scales and gets to 50 and then 100 and then a 300, he's able to spread that cost along a lot of income producers. And so, but those are the kind of things that you learn and you learn from others. And I learned from a lot of people, that were already there doing it in other markets very well. I found the ones that were doing it the best, and I went and spent time with those who did it the best, and so, definitely best practices.
So that's the lesson, Rob. That is the lesson.
I got it. I love it too. And, another part that's genius about that is, there's literal genius in it. And because I feel like it produces so much from it, but just showing gratitude and recognition of others, mm-hmm. it seems on the base level, oftentimes hard to execute, but when it's done and then received and giving someone the option and the experience for them to receive it and feel acknowledged and feel rewarded by all this, that's actually takes it to another level when you take potential sales opportunities, making connections, making even a bigger impact because you just created exposure that wasn't there before, Ralph. I think it's actually genius to another level and nth degree, because it gives a great platform for you and for other people to showcase what's going on with the amazing talent that we have here. That, oftentimes when you said when we're turning on the news, it's negative. Yeah. This is positive news, relevant to my area, to the people that I'm surrounding myself with. And what's great is a lot of this is coming from gratitude and recognition of others.
Well, some of the biggest nights in TV, is Oscars and the Grammys and, the Country Music Awards. And it's always recognition of excellence and recognizing those, inspiring others. And, we, like I said, Julio and I, we love doing what we do. I have such talented people, in sales and, Penny and JR on the editorial and Kelly and Jen. They're creative people, and we have a lot of synergy. And that's sometimes the things you miss when you work remote. And Deem and I have talked about this, is that you sometimes miss that energy and interaction and, synergy in the office. But it's also on the events, in live events. People love the network. And man, at our events, you come there and they're extravagant and well done and audio visual and fun, but the people are there. And like I said, we got to shut it down at some point and tell people to go home. I really miss that, because you obviously can't, hang around and do that and virtually, and so, but, like I said, it's business the challenges never stop. The market always changes. The consumers change. There's a story that I heard by Joel Barker, who's a futurist. And I don't know if y'all have ever seen the video, but Joel tells a story about paradigms. And, we've seen a lot of things shift, particularly this year. But, the idea was that years ago, the people, the Swiss had 60% of the watch market, with the incredible Swiss watches. Well, somebody came up with something else, and they went to the World Watch Congress and presented this. Well, Seiko and Texas Instruments, picked up this technology, which hadn't been patented, and created the best watch ever, which was the quartz technology. The irony is that the Swiss invented the quartz technology. And when they showed it to the kings and the watchmakers, they were like, hey, possibly, we're the kings. We have 65% we're so good at it. Why would you think we would go to this? They didn't embrace it. It didn't get patented, and then they got put out the next 3 years. They dropped down to 10% market share, laid off 50,000 watch workers in Switzerland. And it was that pride, that paradigm blindness, that they didn't see it coming. And I've had people tell me in the newspaper business, they all said no one's going to read the newspaper on the screen. They like to hold it in their hand with a cup of coffee. And it's like they're not going to walk around with a computer screen. Well, they're not carrying around a computer screen. They carry around a little teeny smartphone. They just never had seen that, an iPad or a smartphone, and thought, what? And the same way with a lot of universities now, they're not embracing, and I've told this to LSU when I was on the board, is that, look, technology and, the online learning, shoot, you can go to Arizona State from right here in Baton Rouge, and you don't have to travel a mile. And you can get degrees all over. And this is the kind of thing that the Uber has put the taxis out of business. They thought they could always keep those dirty old cabs, and everybody had to use yellow cab. Not true. You know what I mean? And I could ride around, take a taxi in a Mercedes, somebody else's Mercedes, and get bottled water and treated nicely, and so. This is the kind of thing that I just see, and Amazon is doing it to retail, unfortunately, and that I worry about local retailers, local businesses, and sales taxes and such. But it's a different world, and the paradigm's shifting. And if you don't see it, God help you, because I can tell you right now, every industry is going to be disrupted. If you're not yet, hang on. 2021 may be your year.
Well, 2020 was challenging, and so many paradigm shifts. So let's talk about business. I know this is one of the topics we were interested in, and you already started talking about it. So what do you see for our business and our economy locally for 2021?
Well, one of the things that I, people joke, like long range planning was maybe long range planning is anymore. What is it, a year or 6 months? I mean, there's so many factors that we're trying right now to say, well, we're going to do this in the first quarter, the second quarter. They're all assuming things will be better and they'll open up. And, I don't necessarily have control over it. I mean, if the government says I'm back to 50 limit, I'm going to cooperate. But even if I didn't, I even saw when we had a live event, which we did July 7th. There's some corporations told their employees they couldn't come. So it wasn't the government. It was actually employees protecting themselves or their employees. And for liability, they said, you can't attend. Wow. And in addition to that, I had other people who were older and who thought maybe some health concern, and they're saying, I just can't come. I want to be there, but I just can't come. Mm-hmm. That's their own self-service. So it's a psyche, it's a corporate, it's a government, so many things that I have no control over. And so this is the tough thing when it's saying, Rolf, make your plans. Yeah, I can make my plans. I can say it's going to be, but, whether or not that's going to happen. And, and again, I may set up and rent the hotel and make obligations and everything, and then it doesn't happen, and I'm on the hook, and, and so it's really, uncertainty is not something business likes. They like to know that things are going to be, what does it look like, and what's going to happen, and am I going to have a flow of customers, and am I going to have good weather, and am I going to have, and so right now, we kind of now are going into it knowing have a plan A and have a plan B. We've gotten very good at the word pivot, you know what I mean? And so we're planning things now. We're planning publications. We're planning new products. We're planning events, so we're making our plans, and hopefully we can execute as planned. But if not, we're in the same boat as everybody else. That's the thing, is that, I don't have all the answers, and I'm on phone calls with other publishers. What are you doing? How are you planning? What are you planning? And so forth. So we're exchanging ideas. Hey, I told you 38 years ago, did it? Still exchanging ideas with other publishers and finding out what they're doing, and trying to look at our own market. And we've got a lot of great advertisers and sponsors, because, if they said, well, I don't want to do a virtual, Raw, we want to do live. Okay, who's doing live? You know what I mean? We do live and we can do live. If you can't do live, you can't do live. So it's like, are you going to do nothing? Are you going to sit there and do nothing? And so that's where, again, business has to keep going.
Yeah.
And it's like, they can't go knock on doors and make door-to-door calls because people don't. So anyway, we're just trying to be creative, work with our customers, hear what they're saying, listen to the customers, and that's really about all we can do.
Well, listening, we might have touched on this too, Rolf. Listening to customers, we had a question. It hasn't come up yet under our comments section here, but Chadler Cornett, we know him as Chad Cornett over there at Bank Plus. So if you all are accepting questions, which I think we are, he's a 40 under 40 alum, and he says the pandemic has changed my industry, banking. Would be interested in knowing how it's changed publishing.
Well, like I said, publishing started changing before the pandemic, which was, moving digital. And, you get your daily report wherever you are at. And, so that really didn't change anything. We still had our reporters calling or, contacting, people doing interviews, writing stories, filing stories, posting stories. So in that case, it's been more like Dima and I were talking, it's more been on the event side. Because again, we can still gather news, we can put it together, we can print it, the post office still delivering. So in that sense, there's been some things, like on 225, it was probably impacted the most in that, we have 300 racks. Well, when restaurants and bars are shut down, it's like, wait, a rack's in there, what I mean? So I have to try to distribute, but if nobody can go in, where do they get it? So we had, funny thing is you adapt, as Dima said, and landscaping and outdoor, plant companies became real busy. Everybody was working in the yard. And we started distributing the plant companies. And
that's good.
They were calling us in a few days. Hey, man, we're empty. We need more copies. And so we're on our way. Wow. And so instead of bars, we're plant companies.
Well, I heard divorce attorneys and counselors are doing well. So you may want to put more there.
We called grocery stores. We up the groceries, refill the groceries more often. We actually got some restaurants to put them in go bags. So when they come pick up a go bag, we put a copy in the go bag. So, it's just like we got to figure out a way. Our advertisers are in there. We got to get the magazines to the readers. And so, where there's a will, there's a way. And
that's the stuff I love is hearing about that, like the responsiveness, to the issue or the need at hand, and just like getting ground level and dirty with it and just finding a solution quickly. I love it. That's the stuff, like as an entrepreneur, as a business person, just that's the stuff I live for. That is amazing when it comes together like that.
Yeah, it's guerrilla warfare, and like you said, where there's a will, there's a way. Find out how to do it, how to distribute and solve the problem. Because like I said, the clients are counting on you, your employees are counting on you. So you might have to stay up late, find a way, because somebody's going to find a way. Now, some people are paralyzed by fear or the panic, and they freeze. And like I said, they just deny, much like I was telling you on the watch, you want to deny the reality. Well, you know what? You might be in this situation for a month, 2 months, 3 months. So you better get on with it. And I know some publishers that just quit publishing. I the other day, he said, we just didn't publish for 4 months. And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? It's like, look, we've got stories to tell, news to get out, things are happening. People want to know, that's not an option. And so, again, that was their answer, and, so be it. But, that's where I think entrepreneurs, what I love about the entrepreneurial spirit. And you just, sometimes you just can't teach that. You try to encourage it. And I certainly love seeing young, entrepreneurs out there, and they, I know a lot of times they get told no, but that's the one thing I desire for Baton Rouge, and Dima's good at it, and you, Rob, is that, we got to have that ecosystem for entrepreneurs. We got to have it to where's the place they can go? Where can they go and, ask questions and get support, because, I mean, I think really the future, look, big industry and all that, big businesses, we're not getting in corporate headquarters with 1,000 people coming to, that just, so we're hoping like, well, when are we going to get an auto plant? Never, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, let's get over this. So we're going to keep hunting around for somebody to come save the day and all that. Let's build entrepreneurs. Huey Wilson, who had Wilson's Distributors and sold a service manager there, sold for 100 or 70 million, and now has a foundation here. And Jim Bernhard, who built the Fortune 500, the Lamar family, the Riley family. I mean, these were built from the ground up. Raising Cane's and Todd. And so let's grow our own. I mean, the only reason that Walmart is in Bentonville is because that's where Sam lived. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
He lived there, drove his truck there, and he says, I'm going to have my headquarters here. And now that's the freaking headquarters of Walmart globally is in Bentonville, Arkansas.
And boy, is it way out there, too. I finally got a scope of where that is located. It is literally the top, like the northwest, the most northwest of Arkansas. It's tucked in the Ozarks between that and the Washita National Forest. I couldn't believe the location. I remember hearing how it wasn't close to anything. And, I loved hearing that, like those, not CNN, but the CNBC specials that would talk about Walmart, and, and Sam Walton. And I remember hearing how, like, even the airport had to get upgraded because of, that's just amazing. And it's nowhere.
They got hotels in there that just hold people that come call on Walmart. They have an industry. But, when Sam Walton used to have something called like Franklin stores, the little 5 and dime. And I talked to Mr. Wilson. He was a friend of my dad's, and I visited with him one time. He said, I got a call from this guy. I said, I want to come down and study how you do your membership. Because you had to have a membership card to get in Wilson's. And you could you could buy jewelry at a special price. So he had a retail, and then he had a special price. And he had a card, and Sam came with Huey Wilson to study his system. Later, you might remember Sam's Club, got to have a card, buy a discount, supply. So anyway, he learned that from our own Huey Wilson right here, who started out as a jeweler repairman on 3rd Street downtown. And then he built that chain. So right here in Baton Rouge, built that, sold it for $70 million, built the foundation now that helps a lot of people in Baton Rouge. And Jim Bernhard, Fortune 500, he's doing it again downtown, building another incredible company. And so let's grow our entrepreneurs, and quit waiting for somebody to show up. And especially quit waiting on the government to solve all our problems. We worry too much about who the next damn governor is. And you know what? Entrepreneurs are the heroes.
Yeah, we were talking about that, Ralph and I. It is creating a very, very good entrepreneurial ecosystem and not worry as much about politics. And that is a topic that we have to talk about before the show ends today, politics. So what are your thoughts about what's going on?
Oof, I don't know. Today I had somebody, and again, I don't know if they've announced anything tonight yet or whether it's over or not. And whether Biden is the president, and it's so
I'm refreshing. I'm refreshing the webpage here.
I'm going to check too. I'm going to check.
And if so, the House, of course, lost a few seats from the Democrats, but the Senate appears to be like it may be on track for 52 Republicans. And if that happens, then what you're going to have is probably a lot of gridlock because, everything that comes out of the House can get buried in the Senate graveyard. Anything, the confirmations from the president have to go through and get confirmed in the Senate. So you have this gridlock, potentially. And so that's one scenario. The other is that Trump wins and he has a Senate. You have sort of the situation you have right now. But again, like I said, we rely too much on, Washington dictating to Main Street when there's so many things in our own control with states' rights and everything else that, it's more impactful what happens in Baton Rouge or what happens in Louisiana than what happens in Washington. I told Deem, I was telling a story. I had a young man named Zach Faircloth who was on the LSU board, was a student member, and he was the SGA president of LSU, fine young man out of Alexandria, went off to SNU Law School, he was, 200 kids, all over the country. That student was named Freshman of the Year from Louisiana. So if you wonder if you have talent here, there you go, an example. And then in addition, this past year, he was named editor of the Law Review as a senior, top position pick. But his dad was telling me, I said, well, man, we got to get that kind of talent back to Louisiana. We can't lose them and then have them stay. And he says, well, he's looking at coming back and being a clerkship. But he said, man, I got such great offers, Dad, from people over here who want me to stay and are offering me just untold money. And he said, but the real thing that I really like is, they don't talk about politics every day over here in Dallas. He said, we just go about doing our business. Government's there to support and do its role. But, it's about the business community and the community, coming up with things and making things happen. I'm going like, wow, man, that sounds so refreshing. We have the power within our own hands, and so forth. I mean, business drives most of the economy and the jobs and employees for people. And this is where, like I said, you can become too dependent, as Dima talked about diversification. You can become too dependent on, government for jobs. I mean, schools are the biggest employer, and the state government here is a huge employer. Well, then what happens when we cut back jobs? We don't want all our eggs in that basket either. I'd much rather private sector, for providing the jobs. And so, again, we want good leadership, but the business community, the nonprofit community, they can provide leadership as well or better, in my opinion, especially getting things done. You try to do it through government, it's going to take 3 times as long and cost 5 times as much. Man, we're out there trying to make a dollar stretch, and we're trying to get it done now. We don't have time to wait. We got to get it going, or we produce or die. And that's the kind of thing, the entrepreneurial spirit, which I love in charter schools. I'm a big charter school. I was involved with writing a law to allow charter schools because I wanted competition. The thing that was going to get up teachers every morning and all that is we got to provide a product. We got to get customers, because if we don't, there's no dollars. And, we got to get results for parents. I love that, having a guaranteed thing and a tenure, we know that doesn't work because I've been here all my life and I've seen it, and so, we got Basis School out there with Women's Hospital.
Woo, baby, yeah, go get it.
600 people on the waiting list for a public school.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
It's coming. Open enrollment right now for anyone watching. If anyone watching right now, my kids go to Basis Baton Rouge Matera campus.
Yeah.
You need to get yourself some Basis network education. Holy cow, you don't know what you're missing.
Look,
open enrollment going on right now, closing in,
Yeah. People are moving back from Ascension Parish who work at Women's because they want to get in. So instead of people moving out of our parish for school, moving back in so they can get into that school. Now that's what I'm talking about. Raise the bar and tell everybody step up or get out.
K through 4, open enrollment with the Mid-City campus right now. I believe K through 6, open enrollment right now, Matera campus on Women's Hospital campus. Go for it. Go for it.
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay, so Ralph, as we are finalizing the show today, what is one final thought you want to share with the viewers? One final thing.
Well, I would say, again, being older and having gray hair, it comes that should reflect some wisdom that I've got. I pray every day for wisdom. And, I would say that while we talk about the excitement of business and success and everything, don't forget to stop and smell the roses and enjoy it with those you love, because, that's the one thing you don't want to have. And Julio talks about it a lot is, to get to the end and have regrets. And, I had, a friend of mine who, she was telling me at her husband's funeral, who was in his 50s, he said, when he got to be 60, we were going to start to travel and we were going to enjoy life and he was going to slow down. And we never got to travel. You know what I mean? It never happened. And so, looking at now, and I tell my kids and I tell, I spend a lot of time with my grandkids now, and, because like I said, it's just, life is short. And so you can gain the whole world, lose your own soul. And so that's where, what is it, profit a man? So that's what I'm saying. In all this, you get all excited, but, you know, thank God I had a wife that walked every step of the way with me and was such a great mother to our kids. And you know, I just, I would say, you know, always strive for excellence, give it your best. And then there's, hey, there is no regret. That's all you can do. But make sure you make time for yourself and those that you love, because otherwise, what's it all for? And I just I pray for that every day, that you know, that I would fulfill my purpose and take care of the ones that I love.
That was a great way to go out. I love that one. Look, Rolf, this has been amazing. I have to tell you, I love getting the one-on-one or the two-on-one time with you here and sharing you with Dima and our viewers. I got to tell you, it's been great.
Well, I thank you all, and you know, I think every entrepreneur loves to tell their story, you know, and that's why Business Report is there, because we love to tell the story of entrepreneurs and successful people and share it with others, because we can all learn from others. But I appreciate y'all letting me share my story tonight, and I thank you for what each of you do in our community, and keep it up.
Well,
I want my son to meet you, Rolf. We don't get this occasion very often. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. Do you know we were talking about basis earlier? Come here, kindergartner. Come here, man. You got to come see Mr. Rolf. He's fighting. Get over here. Look, this is Mr. Rolf. He was downstairs playing some Plants vs. Zombies on Xbox after he finished his homework. Say hi, Mr. Rolf.
He's Rob's mini-me.
Ask Mr. Rolf what he dressed up as for Halloween.
What did you dress up as?
Well, if I would have dressed up anything, I'm 6'5", so I guess it'd have to be Frankenstein.
Or Chewbacca. He'd be a good Chewbacca, dude. We're a little wild tonight, you know.
Well, thank you all, and
thank you for joining us.
Great.
It was wonderful
God bless.
to spend time with you.
Yes, Rolf, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
all right.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
And look, we're about to end our show for now. And Dima and I, we want you to suggest a guest to chit chat with us, right, Dima?
Yes, absolutely. We're looking for more inspiring people to learn from and to feature. So if you have a guest you recommend, just send a message to Rob and myself.
That's it. And you can always get in touch with us at our social media. And look, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Catch us again next Wednesday at 7 p.m.